Every year, world leaders gather in one quiet place, Davos, Switzerland. A snowy mountain town that, for 1 week, becomes the center of global power. Presidents, prime ministers, CEOs, central bankers. They come to talk about cooperation, growth, and the future of the global economy. But this year, something feels different. Instead of unity, there's tension. Instead of consensus, there's friction. And at the center of it all is a growing divide between the United States and Europe. So today, we're breaking this down. What's happening at the World Economic Forum? Why US-Europe relations are under strain? And what this tension tells us about where the world is heading next. This is NovusNarrator, context beyond the headline. Before we talk about the conflict, let's understand the stage. The World Economic Forum is not a government body. It doesn't pass laws. It doesn't enforce policy. What it does instead is something more subtle. It brings power into one room. It's where deals are hinted at, where alliances are tested, where economic signals are sent. Often, the most important conversations happen behind closed doors, not on the main stage. That's why tension at Davos matters, because Davos is where disagreements surface. Before they turn into crises. The strain between the US and Europe didn't begin this week. It's been building for years. Different priorities, different economic pressures, different political realities. But this year, those differences became impossible to ignore. At the center of the tension is trade. The United States has signaled a harder stance toward Europe, especially on tariffs, economic leverage, and strategic compliance. European leaders, on the other hand, feel increasingly pressured. From their perspective, the US is treating allies more like rivals. And that changes everything. Tariffs are more than taxes on imports. They're political tools. When the US threatens tariffs, it's not just about protecting domestic industries. It's about forcing negotiation. At Davos, European officials made something very clear. They do not want a trade confrontation. But they also don't want to appear weak. This creates an uncomfortable dynamic. If Europe resists, markets may panic. If Europe complies, domestic politics suffer. That tension is exactly what markets have been reacting to. Trade isn't the only issue fueling this divide. Security has entered the conversation, loudly. Recent comments linking trade pressure to strategic interests, including Arctic and NATO-related concerns, have alarmed European leaders. For Europe, NATO is not a bargaining chip. It's a foundation of security. That's why statements suggesting leverage over NATO cooperation triggered strong reactions. Several European leaders pushed back publicly. Their message was clear. Security alliances are not negotiable. And Davos became the place where that message was delivered. Financial markets pay close attention to Davos, not because of speeches, but because of signals. Tone matters. When leaders sound confrontational, investors prepare for disruption. When cooperation breaks down, uncertainty rises. And uncertainty is the enemy of markets. This year, markets saw trade tensions, currency pressure, political friction between allies, all at once. That combination explains why volatility increased during the forum. Markets aren't reacting to what's happening now. They're reacting to what might happen next. Europe is also dealing with its own challenges. Slow economic growth, high energy costs, political fragmentation across member states. That makes external pressure harder to absorb. When US leaders push aggressively, Europe doesn't respond as one unified voice. And that weakens its negotiating position. Several European officials at Davos openly acknowledged this. The message was subtle, but clear. Europe needs to rethink its economic model to survive a more competitive world. This moment isn't just about the US and Europe. It reflects a larger shift. The era of smooth globalization is fading. In its place is something more fragmented. Countries are prioritizing national security, domestic industries, strategic independence. Trade is no longer just economic. It's political. It's strategic. And Davos, once a symbol of global unity, is now a place where those fractures are visible. In past years, Davos focused on climate, technology, and cooperation. This year, the dominant theme is uncertainty. Leaders aren't asking, how do we grow together? They're asking, how do we protect ourselves? That shift in mindset is subtle, but profound. It signals a world where alliances are more transactional, and trust is harder to maintain. Davos doesn't end conflicts. It reveals them. What happens next depends on diplomacy behind closed doors. Will the US soften its tone? Will Europe present a more unified front? Will trade threats turn into negotiations or retaliation? Markets will react to every signal, every press conference, every leak, every offhand comment. Because Davos may be temporary, but the consequences are not. This year's World Economic Forum feels like a turning point. Not because of one speech, not because of one policy, but because of what it revealed. A world less certain, alliances under pressure, and an economic order in transition. US-Europe tensions at Davos aren't just a headline. They're a signal. The rules are changing, and everyone is watching to see who adapts first.